Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, why won't they take our pre-order dollars? It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I'm always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including some follow-ups on stuff from the Nintendo Direct. And then on Thursday, we are talking about other Nintendo characters that deserve their turn in the spotlight, a la Zelda and Echoes of Wisdom. But Mark, in the meantime, how's it going?
It's going great. How's it going for you, Patrick?
Oh, turning the question
that's
around
right.
on me. I know that we don't do the weather report anymore.
It's hot. It's hot, folks.
It's hot, folks. We've hit the. I feel like there's just a moment in the summer, June sometime, where a switch is flipped, and suddenly we are June gloom no more. We are now just hot.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we are until November.
It truly is. I remember 1 October walking with you to buy an ice cream birthday cake.
Yes.
For a friend of ours.
Yes.
From Baskin Robbins. That was like 2 blocks from where basically both of us lived.
Right.
And it was so hot and disgusting.
And I feel like that's just where we are right now.
That's just
we're
we
just
are
in the hot and disgusting realm right now. I was thinking of ways to beat the heat this weekend. Okay, 2 things that I did. 1, saw a movie at Vidiots. Do you know Vidiots?
Yes. How I've never been though, but
It's great.
It's a they rent.
Yeah, so they are like a video rental store and also a theater. And they just show like old movies. They don't have to be super old, but like Sarah and I are talking about going to see Jaws on 4th of July. They're showing Jaws. So we went to a 4:00 movie because hey, it was hot at 4:00. But we saw, and tell me if you've seen this movie, Bringing Up Baby.
I have seen this movie. This is with Katharine Hepburn
and Cary Grant. Right, and a leopard named Baby.
Yes, I have seen this movie.
It is a horrifying spectacle to witness, as there's just like this poor leopard and this poor dog that they make like be in this movie together. There's a moment where the 2 animals are wrestling each other on screen.
Okay, this reminds me of, there's a Haley Mills Disney movie from like the 60s called That Darn Cat. They remade it in the 90s with Christina Ricci.
Yeah.
But they're just like throwing this cat around.
Oh yeah, I mean there was a long time where like you could get away with like kind of whatever, because like I don't know, like we have much more animal protections now.
But if you need to throw a cat, you just do it with CGI.
That's right. You just throw it with CGI. It's no problem. You do still need to sacrifice a real cat to make it work.
Well, it's a 1 in 1 out policy.
That's right. So A, that. B, I found a pool by my place. I'm gonna start going to this pool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you generally a pool person, or are you just looking to beat the heat?
I'm looking to beat the I love that we keep using this terminology. I'm looking to beat the heat for sure, but also like I used to be on the swim team in high school. I have the ability, 25, 30 years ago. Hold on, 25. Let's not go nuts. To like swim at a competitive level, right?
Yeah.
To like do it as exercise.
So you're going to beat the heat and to show off.
Yeah, well, yeah. But I also look. I want to slim down a little bit.
Oh,
right?
sure,
in the pool,
sure, yeah,
kicking, pulling, going.
So a great
exercise.
low impact exercise.
Looking for low impact exercise.
Yeah, your joints will thank you.
Yes, and beating the heat.
You're beating the heat. Can't beat that.
So Mark, that's how I am. If people want to support us on Patreon, they can just go to patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, where if you are supporting us at the 8 or 16-bit levels, you get access to our once a month episodes of miniseries that we're putting out. We are currently making our way through NCS Arcade.
Yes, this is a series where Patrick and I are playing games on Nintendo Switch Online, a Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack that we've never beaten before.
Yes.
And for this month, for June, we are playing and going to be talking about Earthbound.
Earthbound, Mother 2.
Which I am really excited for this conversation.
I am too.
I have not finished Earthbound quite yet. So I have a little bit of homework to do before we record our discussion. But
yes.
I want to get there. This is not a Jet Force Gemini situation where...
Right, where you're just going to YouTube the end. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And by end, I mean like back 2/3 for me. But so if you have questions about Earthbound, observations about Earthbound, memories of your experiences with Earthbound, please email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. And we will incorporate those emails into a special supplemental episode that we put out that is free to everyone who follows us on Patreon, whether you're a paying member or not.
Yeah, that's right. So you can follow us for free on Patreon. And like Patrick said, when you do that, you'll have access to these listener feedback episodes, which have been a lot of fun. We're just about to put one out for Metroid.
Yep, should be out on Wednesday.
And then also another change for the Patreon is that if you are in the 4-bit tier, if you're supporting us at the 4-bit level, you'll start getting access to previous mini-series that we've done. So starting July 1st, you'll have access to NCS Detective Club, where we watch the great detective shows of television and talk about them.
Fletcher, Monk, Columbo, the rest.
Yeah.
Marple. Those two guys from Psych.
I was trying to think of their names.
I cannot remember their names. But yeah, so check that out if any of that applies to you. Also, if you're not in our Discord yet, you should get in there. Just email us, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, and we will let you in.
Sean, that's one of them.
Sean is definitely one of them, and I don't remember which one is.
I think
is it the annoying one, Sean?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we watched a whole other show. Oh, Dick Van Dyke.
Diagnosis Murder.
Diagnosis Murder. I do not remember that character's name either.
Oh, Dr. Mark Sloan.
Wow.
It's not that impressive. I've watched like all of it. Oh yeah, that too.
Last thing, of course, is that the first 3 issues of my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle source book are in comic book stores now. The 4th issue comes out, I think, in July. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to come out. Sometime soon. It's a good one. Mark, we've got some things to debug here.
Yes, that's right. So in last week's news episode, we talked about the support for X/Twitter support in the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Being end of lifed, so you can no longer post screenshots or videos from your Nintendo Switch directly to Twitter X. There's no integration there anymore. Nintendo took it out, and at the time I said, "Oh, there's basically no way to get screenshots off of your Switch other than to like literally connect it to your computer or take the SD card out."
It still connects to Facebook, right?
No, I don't think there's any.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so I thought no good way to do it.
Yeah.
Had to use the SD card or connect your Switch directly using the USB-C port. But that is not true. Both Anthons and AV
in the Discord.
Yes, wrote it to the Discord saying that there is a way. So there's an official way, which is when you go, this is from Anthons, and when you go into a photo or a video on your Switch, there is a send to smartphone option that is there. And when you select that, it's a 2 QR code process. So the first part is you scan.
It's a too many QR code process.
You scan the QR code, and at that point it prompts you to join the Switch's like network, like local network.
Right.
And then once you successfully do that, it displays a second QR code. And when you scan that QR code, it takes you to a web page that displays the image that you can then download the image from.
Okay, that's too many steps. And it is very similar to how you could upload custom patterns in Animal Crossing. That you could make those patterns like on your phone. And then like upload them to this thing that then you had to like scan QR codes ahoy to like get them on the same network and share them that way.
And then
they need to simplify this for the future.
Yeah, it's almost like they need a mobile app.
They have a mobile app.
And then there's the unofficial way, which there's a phone app called Switch Buddy that's like $2.99 a month or something like that. But one of the things it can do is you scan one QR code and
Yeah.
then you're able to like download like 10 photos and one video at a time.
It's worth
So
the
that
$3.
so that's another way to do it as well, which is good to know. I didn't realize that there were at least especially like the like more baked in solutions
Yeah.
than having to pull out your SD card.
But even still, like for the future, like they just got to find a simple way for this to work, right?
Yeah, it'd be great. You know how like I mean, sure it's incredibly complicated and probably incredibly expensive. All the servers that they would need is
Sure.
probably partly why they don't do it, especially because how
How much
how
use
often
is
are
it really
people
gonna get?
yeah, but it would be cool if it worked like like Google Photos or Photos on your
Right.
iPhone, where when you took a screenshot it was automatically like uploaded to the cloud
Yeah.
and it showed up on that Nintendo Switch app on your
Right.
phone.
Or even if it was like a designated Nintendo photo app or something.
Right.
But yeah, that's the easy solution, and I bet it never happens.
Well, probably the easiest solution would have been just to pay whatever fees that
yeah,
like
maybe, but I mean, like, there's that Twitter was asking before. You mean, yeah, but I mean, like, there are definitely times that I had tweeted something, like, quickly marked it as private, so I could like download the thing to my phone and then like text it to someone. So like, you never really know what someone's purpose is going to be with that screenshot.
Yeah, that's true.
So I mean, at this point, I am resorting to just taking pictures of the screen with my phone. That's how I do it. All right, Mark, let's get into what we've been playing this week. I'm afraid we're not going to have too much to talk about here.
It's all Earthbound, baby.
It's all Earthbound. Mark mentioned that he is still working his way towards the end. I finished it on Sunday. The first time I've ever done that. Finished Earthbound. I've seen like drips and drabs of like the end of this game before, but this is my first time actually experiencing it, and I've got things to say about it that'll have to wait.
I was looking up commercials because one of the the things about Earthbound is the way Nintendo sold this game in the 90s is weird. They did it with like gross out humor and like like
sort of in the game though.
No, it is. No, I'm not saying it's bad, but
Yeah.
that was always my impression was like, why did you sell it this way? And so I was looking up television commercials and I found on YouTube like a video that was like part of like a Nintendo Power preview or something,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
where they're talking about it. But in it, because I've always wondered, how do you pronounce the ultimate bad guy in this game's name? It's like Gygas, and is it Gygas?
It's Giygas.
Giy.
Yeah.
Is it Gygas? But according to these commercials, it's Gigas.
Okay.
So I'm going with that.
We're going with Gigas.
I mean, that feels like a weight off my shoulders. Like,
Sure.
I don't have to like guess
Yeah.
what it's supposed to be. I'm just going to go with the 1993 for whatever it was Nintendo Power commercial.
See, I was going to go with the traditional French pronunciation of Giaga.
Oh, of course.
So
yes. Yes, how continental of you.
Yes, I like to think that it can bring a little class, a little culture to the
tiny bit, the tiniest bit,
and then we move on to talking about Master Barf or whatever.
But yeah, I do after playing this far into the game. I'm like, yeah, selling the charms of this game would be really difficult. Like, how do you sell this to the target audience of kids in the 90s? And I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know how I would do a better job than what they tried to do.
I mean, so I just like a little tease for one of my thesis statements about this game. So much of its charm comes from its willingness to inconvenience you.
It's true.
And
do you want some coffee?
For example, but how do you sell inconvenience as charm?
And it's also not that this game, that Earthbound couldn't be enjoyed by children, because I'm sure it could be.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was. There were people when the game originally came out, played it and loved it, and that's part of the reason why it's always been kind of like a revered hidden gem almost.
Yes.
But I really think that it's made for adults,
Well,
or maybe it's like,
no, absolutely.
or
It's
at least you have a totally different
yeah.
perspective on it as an adult than you would
Yes.
as a child.
It's the same thing as like the last 10 years of Pixar movies, right? Where it's like we're exploring like the emotions of children. I'm thinking specifically of Inside Out 2. The emotions of children, but through a lens that like only an adult could genuinely be moved by, right? Like maybe a kid finds Inside Out like instructive or helpful for like how to deal with their own feelings, but mostly as an adult, you're just like, yeah, it was really hard when I was 13,
Right.
you know? And I think that that is a lot of, and also when I was 13 in 1995, right? Like, and I think that's exactly the note that Earthbound is hitting for me.
Yeah. And I think that's just hard, like, to sell in a video game
Yes.
when your target audience is like 9-year-olds at the time.
Yeah,
That's what Nintendo was really going for. So anyways,
all right, that's it. We've talked too much about Earthbound.
yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's like a 40-hour game or whatever. So
Yes.
there is no shortage of things to talk about. And I just wanted to get this out now because who knows when we actually record that episode if I'll even remember it at that time. So.
Right. So now it's on you, listener, to email us about that.
That's right.
Or something else, and then we'll talk about that. And then the only other thing I've been playing is I continue to play this Picross Namco game. And Mace Ace in the Discord was just had my back today about how bad the music is in it. It's really a remarkable feat. Why would the music have to be bad?
We need a Namco expert to tell us if this is like an homage to some.
Right.
You're going another sprinkling of French in there. An homage to the Namco soundtracks of the past.
Yes, because I would love to know. There must be a reason for it, right?
What if it was a mistake, but everybody's too embarrassed to say anything about it?
Oh, that they had like 2 tracks, one labeled good music, and then one labeled very bad music.
Exactly.
And they uploaded the very bad music. It's possible.
It's possible.
All right, Mark, that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
We actually have a number of new releases this week. So today,
Yep.
June 25th, Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble is released.
Right, which is a new Monkey Ball game?
Yes, which I believe we saw in
At a
the
direct
partner
showcase.
showcase. And then also Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition is released. So this is an Ubisoft game
Yes.
that I have never played.
So, okay, same boat. An Ubisoft game that I have never played. But I'm also, and I feel like we've been going like on this like road of like, yes, Beyond Good and Evil 2 long enough that I'm embarrassed to ask or state that I don't know anything about Beyond Good and Evil. Like, I don't know what type of game it is.
Yeah, all I know is that it's a Zelda-like kind of that also has stealth elements.
Right.
And then
élément.
And then the
there's like a
main character. There's a pig, and the main character.
He's the main character?
No. The main character is a woman whose name is Jade. I might be making that up.
Okay, great.
And she's a journalist.
Okay.
And it takes place in the future, maybe, or some universe
At the
where
time of
there are
Pigmen. Yeah.
Yes. But it's supposed to be really good, and they announced a sequel 10 years ago.
They announced a sequel
15 years
so
ago?
long
Like
ago, and it's gone through like various levels of like, oh no, we scrapped it and started over. It had that whole partnership with Joseph Gordon-Levitt's hit record,
right,
or hit
where he
record.
was where he was like,
It was like
asking
crowdsourcing, like music
concept
and
art or something?
It was a
Art,
real
yeah.
but like the whole like hit record, hit record. You know what? I honestly understand that's like the point of it. Is that it could be
Gigas.
it's Giga. That like its whole ethos is like crowdsourcing.
Does
stuff,
that still exist?
I probably not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, who knows what form the new.
It's only $20.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So I like, honestly, I might pick it up
Right.
because it's one of those games that has such a stellar reputation.
Yes.
That I'm so interested in it. Am I interested enough to play it? I don't know, but I'm interested enough to spend $20 on it.
There you go.
Then on Thursday, June 27th, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is released.
Thursday,
Yes.
Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Yep.
I feel like I am in a little bit of a gaming traffic jam right now because I have Earthbound, and that's
Yes.
really been my focus to try to um, play it and finish it, which means I put Thousand Year Door, like I'm maybe an hour into it,
Right.
and then put
Back
that on the
burnered
back
it,
burner.
yeah.
And then Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is coming out, which I'm honestly not that excited about, but I do have it pre-ordered using vouchers.
Yeah, me too.
And like I kind of feel the same way about like Beyond Good and Evil 2. I'm like, well, I'm interested in checking this out. I don't know why I don't have very much enthusiasm for Luigi's Mansion 2 HD.
Because it's a remake of a 3DS game. I mean, like, it got a little bit of a showing in the Nintendo Direct. But I think they know that they're like just putting out a Luigi game. They're like, this will hold you over until the new Zelda game comes out, like 2 months from now, right? 3 months. It's like 90 something days. So yeah, I mean, it feels like a placeholder, right?
Yeah, I guess I have the same amount of enthusiasm for it that Nintendo appears to.
Yes, yeah.
What about you?
I also have it pre-ordered, and I'm pretty sure it's downloaded on my Switch, just waiting for Thursday to come along. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna play it. I am done with Earthbound. I feel like I was able to sort of shotgun Earthbound because I was still in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth mode. And I have not totally left that. So like I do, and I don't have a book that I'm writing right now. So like I kind of got time. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna sort of be juggling Thousand Year Door and Luigi's Mansion 2 for a little while and see which one of them wins out. And then just follow that interest, like as far as that goes.
And then on Friday, June 28th, Spy Cross Anya Operation Memories is released. And this is a game that was revealed in the September 2023 Direct. At the time, I had absolutely no idea what it is,
Right.
or was. And I still don't know, other than it's a game based on a popular anime.
Right.
When I was
like
in Japan,
Spy Family or something?
yeah, when I was in Japan, there was like pop-up cafes and stuff for it. So this is purely my own ignorance.
Right.
I don't know what this is. But I still don't.
Yeah, and just your ignorance. I am not.
Yeah, you're above it.
Yes, that's right. I don't know what it is, but I don't care.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so that's. I mean, do we need to talk more about like Luigi's Mansion 2, or like I think we're both gonna like get it and then just sort of like see if it hooks us, right?
Yeah, Luigi's Mansion is not a series that I feel particularly passionate about.
Right. Well, it's not a particularly long series, right? Like there's really just these 3 entries. And it's just like a weird quirk of the Switch or release schedules or what. It's also a good game, but like Luigi's Mansion 3 sold a ton of
Yeah,
copies.
like blew up.
Right. So like the franchise is now something that like we will not get away from for a while, right? Like there will be a new Luigi's Mansion on the next Switch, right?
Right.
And we're getting this remake of number 2 right now. So like I don't know, like I wanna spend time with it. I wanna like groove with it on its own terms. And then, probably bounce off it after like 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah, I think that'll probably be my trajectory as well. I wonder if not I wonder. It does feel like it would have been, I don't know how they would have done it in a way that didn't just seem really sloppy, but it would have been cool to have the like either the original Luigi's Mansion as a GameCube
That does-
release,
yes.
or like the 3DS remake that features Luigi. Like it would have been neat to have the entire series on Switch.
I agree
It's
with
interesting
this.
that it's
Yeah.
just 2 and 3.
Right. Well, and when Metroid Prime 4 Beyond comes out, we will then have 1 and
Yeah,
4
no, that's
on there.
true.
Like
that is true.
They're just like, unless it's Pikmin, they're not collecting everything, right? Like the Mario games that I can play on Switch is like basically everything except Galaxy 2.
Yeah, that's right.
So like I don't know.
Yeah. And what would they have done, right? Because they would have had to remake either the first game in HD,
Right.
or they would have had to port the 3DS game. But then if you're going to do that, like,
Why not?
do you put them together and
Yeah.
sell it as like one package?
Well, because the original is so small. right? Like it's a quick game. You can get through that in like the 5 or 6 hours that I mentioned. Maybe even get through it twice in that amount of time. And then it's like, well, okay, why not then release the 3DS version, which is like a little bit meatier, a little bit longer.
Right.
It features Luigi.
And then or if you just release the GameCube version, that
Right.
would be super weird too, kind of, because it would just feel like a real grab bag collection. Like you have
Yes.
you have 3, you have 2 HD, which it just is what it is.
Right.
And then you would have like a port of the GameCube version, you know?
But like it sort of worked for Pikmin, right? Like having Pikmin 1 and 2 just like an upscaled version of them. They didn't do anything to those games. It's it like that works. And then they did like Pikmin 3 Deluxe. So maybe it's not maybe we've not reached the end of the road with Luigi's Mansion, and they could still put out Luigi's Mansion 1 on a GameCube.
It would kind of be funny, maybe not funny, haha. It'd be interesting if Luigi's Mansion 1 ends up being a late in life game for both the 3DS and the Switch.
Whoa.
Where it's like it came out at
Yeah.
in the death throes of the 3DS, and then it comes out after the Switch 2 was released
Right.
on the Switch.
It is going to be so weird when we start seeing what's coming out for like just Switch once the Switch 2 is out there. Like I just want to know what that balance is going to be like.
Yeah. And what kind of titles are we still getting for the original Switch?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So those are the new releases. Let's close this segment out. Which brings us to a regular segment on our show. It is time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance, 433, Mark and I'll talk about something not all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Fantasia.
Yeah. So, while I was gone, I was reading this book called Disney War, which is about like Michael Eisner being brought into the Walt Disney Company in the 80s.
Okay.
And then basically it follows it through. The book was released when he was stripped of his chairman of the board title, and like
which Mickey Mouse famously ripped from his jacket.
Like a badge.
Like a badge, yeah.
And then so
gun.
basically like it's setting up the last like year or so when Bob Iger became the CEO, like all that kind of stuff. And in it, they talk about his basic like relationship with Roy E. Disney, who was Walt Disney's nephew, Roy O. Disney's son, and how he like had this idea for a new Fantasia movie, which eventually became Fantasia 2000. But it got me thinking about the original Fantasia, which is such a weird. It's such an interesting movie. What a swing for the fences.
Well, and especially in 1940, which is when it comes out, that it is this like 2-hour-long concert epic that like looks like nothing else and is an experience like nothing else, right?
So if you've never seen Fantasia before, it is classical music pieces paired with animation. And so what we're going to do is do you like Fantasia? We could just the idea behind this was we were going to rank the
we got like 2 minutes.
Okay,
still. We're fine.
Do you like Fantasia?
Yeah, I love Fantasia. And Fantasia was something that like I responded to like very early. Like we had the tape, and I would watch it all the time. Usually fast forwarding all the way to the Night on Bald Mountain bit at the end, which I loved as a kid. But yeah, I mean, like I really like classical music. I really like animation. So like this thing is a slam dunk for me. I like Fantasia 2000. It is like inarguably worse than the original Fantasia, but like it's still a very cool thing. Do you like Fantasia? You seemed surprised when I said I liked it.
Well, I like it fine. I think it was a really cool idea. And I think some of the segments, like any package film like this, some of the segments are going to be better than others. But some of them I think are really great. So let's just get into it.
Okay, great. So I guess we'll start at the beginning, and maybe we'll just we have enough time to maybe do like thumbs up, thumbs down.
Okay, great.
Okay, so it's the Toccata and Fugue in D minor, the Bach piece. This is one that's like very abstract, and it's just sort of like lights and colors and stuff.
Right.
I think thumbs up. I like this one.
I'm kind of like middle thumbs with this.
Mark is middle thumbs.
I guess I'll lean thumbs up.
Okay.
The next is the Nutcracker Suite by Tchaikovsky.
Mm-hmm.
So selections from the ballet, like the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy,
Right.
the Chinese Dance, Waltz of the Flowers,
and
the greatest hits.
Right, and even though there aren't actually like actual nutcrackers in there, it's kind of literal in its like presentation of these things. Like there are lots of like fairies and like little dancing mushrooms and stuff.
And Waltz of the Flowers is just like flowers like
dancing.
twirling
Right,
around.
Right.
This is a thumbs up for me.
I give it a thumbs down. I think
Okay.
too literal. Next up is the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Hey, you know this one.
Classic.
It's Mickey Mouse. He's making too many brooms. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
It's got Yen Sid, the sorcerer, which is Disney spelled backwards.
The Rite of Spring
Yes.
by Stravinsky.
Mm-hmm. Rite of Spring for me as a piece is like a foundational like musical thing. I love it. No. Oh no, we're out of time.
I guess we'll never know.
I give that one a thumbs up. Okay, Mark, we were accompanied today by the EBU, Your Radio Orchestra. Before we move out, do you have a favorite segment from Fantasia?
I have a least favorite segment, and it is because the Rite of Spring is the one with the dinosaurs, right?
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
seeing this during one of like the re-releases when they used to put the movies into theaters.
Sure.
And being very young, and we left because I found it so scary.
Because it was too scary.
Uh-huh.
I thought you were gonna say because it was too boring. Because like the beginning of it is like creation of the universe stuff.
Uh-huh.
It takes a long time for it to get to the dinosaurs, which is true for the world as well. I think I said we were accompanied today by the EBU Your Radio Orchestra. Mark, let's get into the news.
Gus is the name of the other character from Psych.
Ah, yes.
Sean and Gus.
Yeah.
Following up from last week's Nintendo Direct.
Uh-huh.
In our Direct debriefing episode last Wednesday, I talked about speculation online that maybe Next Level Games was the developer behind Mario and Luigi Brothership.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like not true.
We think not true.
Yeah. And the reason we think that is because journalist Stephen Totillo got Nintendo on the record saying that some of the developers who worked on the series previously are working on the new one. But they continued I don't know if it's like a new thing or people are just more interested in now, but Nintendo, their current stance is we don't tell you voice actors, we don't tell you developers
right.
and when the game is released, you'll find out for yourself. So we don't actually know the development studio. Now that we know that some of the people who worked on the series previously are working on this, people online went and looked at the developers from Alpha Dream,
right,
and where they went after that studio went bankrupt, and apparently many of them went to, I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's Ilka
Gygas,
who was responsible for the Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shiny Pearl remakes. So that's currently the best guess,
right?
Is that they're working on it.
And I like that there is this, if not a like continuity of talent at a single studio, that it's still like a continuity of talent throughout the studios that work with Nintendo. Like there's always, especially now with like how volatile the games industry seems to be, it can always be like a relief that Nintendo feels a little more stable. And even in light of studio closing down, there's still some like continuity, some stability here.
That's what it's so crazy sometimes about Nintendo, and you're learning about the development of the games. Like I remember when the developer interviews, like the Ask the Developer interviews, were published from Nintendo about Super Mario Brothers Wonder,
right?
And you realize people who have been working on the Mario franchise since the first Super Mario Brothers game are still intimately involved with these new games, which is,
well, I mean, we were just talking
I don't know that there's any studio in the world where
really
that could
isn't.
be true.
I mean, we were just talking about Sakamoto, right? That like Yeah, he like wrote the original Metroid. He's like the what do they call it? Scenario designer for it. And then was like deeply involved with the production of Dread. So like,
Yeah, for like 40
yeah,
years,
what is
Metroid
yeah.
is your life's work. I mean, it's so unique and so interesting.
Yep.
And it leads to interesting things whether you agree with it or not, but like stuff like the Paper Mario series where from intelligent systems have been working on that series from the first one, and they're like, we want to do something different with it.
Yeah.
We don't want to just, we are interested in seeing what else we can do with Paper Mario. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but it is really interesting
Yeah.
to have that kind of
There's just that
continuity.
institutional memory. Yeah.
What do you think of like why do you think, or do you think there is like a why that we can pinpoint for Nintendo not wanting to reveal who the developers are or who like the voice actors are until it's released?
Yeah, I mean it's a good point. I think or a good question. And I think a lot of it has to do with um like Nintendo always wants to sell the game more than any individual part of the game, right? That like if something has to change, or I mean like, is it this became this like big deal online with like Charles Martinet retiring. Um and like I think they just don't want that drama. I think they just want like, here's the game, does this game look like fun to you? And they don't want you thinking like, oh, it's not being made by Alpha Dream, even though it's still being made by a lot of the people who made up Alpha Dream.
Yeah, there's like I think you're right. I think you're onto something because I don't know, you get the sense from Nintendo where there are so many talented people who are working on
Yes.
these things, and there's maybe, at least to my mind, like 10 people that you could name and point to and be like, "Oh, they're kind of the ones who
Yeah.
get the spotlight." But
But it's hundreds of people working
it's
on it.
hundreds
Yeah.
of people working on these games, but like Aonuma is the face of Zelda.
Right.
Miyamoto is the face of
Pikmin.
Nintendo. Or, yeah, like
Yeah.
Pikmin. But otherwise they present this like collective front where it's like
Right.
Nintendo's work.
Yes. But and like you also have to think about like they do so much, like Nintendo as like an in-house developer like genuinely doesn't own that many studios. It's mostly partnerships that they have with studios that make games either exclusively for them or almost exclusively for them. And I just wonder like how much of and like you think about like Fujibayashi, right? That he started at Capcom and has now become like the director of all like the Zelda games. And when Capcom was making the Zelda games, obviously he was directing them, but like was there then also what exactly is the relationship between Nintendo and the partners as they're making these games?
Well, especially I think a perfect example is Zelda, and we're like Grezzo, who
Yes.
we're assuming is developing
Right.
Echoes of Wisdom,
but it
but
sort of doesn't matter, right?
right, and it's like, well, how much is it being led by Grezzo? How much is it being led by Nintendo? And Grezzo's just
Right.
doing the coding, or like, well, like that partnership and like what that collaboration looks
Yeah.
like is so mysterious to me.
Right. Oh, and like you can also go to the example of like Super Smash Brothers, right? Where it's like, okay, so that's mostly being developed by Bandai Namco, as led by Masahiro Sakurai, who is a freelancer,
Right, working for a like his own company,
working for his own company, which is not owned by Nintendo.
Uh-huh.
But like that's a Nintendo game, and so like
or HAL with
Yes.
Kirby.
Yes. I mean, it's all like a big like. So I think they like recognize that what's happening there is it looks from the outside like Nintendo as a producer.
I mean, geez, the Metroid Dread, right? Also, like,
Yeah, Mercury's Theme. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And Retro for Prime 4.
Retro's at least wholly owned by Nintendo.
Yes, that's true. That's a great point. But regardless, right? Like there are all of these different pieces that come together to make this insanely deep library of Nintendo games that we've seen, especially in the Switch generation. But I guess this is their slowest production period of all time, maybe. But yeah, I think this way they can just say these are all Nintendo games.
Yeah, just digging into it even a little bit more, we know that Monolith Soft
Yes.
helped out on like the technology for Breath of the Wild,
Yeah.
and that Retro I think had made something for like Mario Kart 7. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
there are so many. I bet there are more hands in all of these games than we even realize.
Yes.
All like working in unison. The other thing I wonder about is if they don't want people to prejudge the game based on the developer.
That's interesting.
Because there have been developers that Nintendo has brought in and probably did work that exceeded people's expectations externally, right?
Yeah, sure.
And
Well, we've talked too about like when Donkey Kong Country Returns was originally announced, that people got all up in arms because they were like, why isn't Retro working on a new Donkey Kong or a new Metroid game, wasting their time on a 2D Donkey Kong Country? And if people just don't know that, it's just easier.
Well, and I mean, for myself, like, if I had known from the moment that Princess Peach Showtime was developed by Goodfeel,
Yeah, sure.
I would my like feelings on that game would have been different from even the reveal, like my expectations.
Yeah,
because I've never really liked any of their games,
right.
and so I don't know. It is interesting that that's their stance, and obviously people like ferret out the information and
Right, but it's
figure it
like
out
the
ahead of
hyper
time.
dorks,
Right,
right? It's
right.
it's like those of us that like care too much,
Yeah.
care an embarrassing amount. Like, yeah, you can figure out the information, but like everyone else just sees that big red oval with the word Nintendo in it.
Relatedly, it looks like Forever Entertainment is developing Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. Forever Entertainment has handled a handful of remakes on Switch, including the House of the Dead remake and the first two Front Mission remakes.
So, no strangers to putting nice looking games on Switch.
Weirdly, none of the new games that Nintendo announced during the Direct last week are available for pre-order, either digitally or physically, from Nintendo itself or retail partners in North America currently.
Right, which they are available in other markets.
Yes.
So what I think there is something happening with like the Nintendo like retailer relationship in North America at the moment, and I don't really get it. But there were a couple like pre-orders for like physical pre-orders for games on like Walmart, I guess Walmart.com, and some other retailers that they just like canceled without explanation.
Yeah, it happened with like Thousand Year Door,
Yes.
and with Luigi's Mansion 2, I think. And the explanation, so people had put in pre-orders for physical versions of the game
Right.
from Walmart.com and another retailer, and then like weeks/months later got an email update saying your order was being canceled, and apparently the line was that Nintendo wasn't allowing like online retailers to
Right.
sell the physical versions or something like that.
Like not just online retailers, but regular like brick and mortar retailers who sell them.
Oh, so Amazon could still sell them because
I
they
think
didn't have a
so.
brick and mortar presence.
Right.
Got it. And Amazon's had their own tiffs with Nintendo.
Totally.
In the past, there were this was probably like 10 years ago where you couldn't buy a 3DS on Amazon.
Right. Yeah. Well, and like this led me down like a speculation rabbit hole. Just be like why would like what has changed with this relationship here? And I got to wondering if it has anything to do with the like perceived lack of forthcoming amiibo. I do think one of the ways that Nintendo has been uh, you know playing pretty nice with like GameStop in particular, but also like Best Buy and all these other places, is that as all the other libraries have gone digital and gone online, Nintendo included, Nintendo still regularly put out something that you needed to go into a physical store to pick up, where shelf space mattered. And if Nintendo doesn't have amiibos that are coming out and like are not reserving the same amount of like shelf space anymore, maybe those relationships are souring. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they still need them because they got to get hardware out next year.
Right.
I assume.
Yeah. And you have to imagine that there's at least like, we'll just say half of their sales still come from retail.
Right. Yes.
So it's still a significant amount.
Totally.
But yeah. I wonder if that is part of it as well. The other thing I was wondering, although it wouldn't explain why pre-orders are happening in Japan and other places.
Yeah,
is
that's
that,
a good point.
like supposedly, reportedly, to prevent leaks of games in the direct, Nintendo didn't like up have web pages ready to go for
Right.
these for the new games on their like backend, because previously what they would do is they had like all the games that were going to be announced, they had the web pages ready to go and they were just not published,
Right.
but they existed. And so the theory is that, somebody was able to look at the Nintendo's back end, whether an employee or somebody else, and see all those and be like, oh, okay, there's a new Zelda game coming and it's called Echoes of Wisdom, and there's a new Mario and Luigi and it's called Brothership.
Right.
And then that's how those games would leak. And so they did not do that. And so when the direct went live after the direct, there were no web pages for any of those games. I think there still might not be.
There
and
are
I,
not.
And I wonder if that affects pre-orders as well, because a lot of times, Nintendo, I assume, would seed that pre-order information to GameStop, so that way they would have it in their system, so they could open
Right.
pre-orders.
Right.
And if that hasn't happened yet, maybe Nintendo is waiting until that does happen, so that way everybody can open pre-orders at the same time.
Well, okay, so that's a good like wind up to all of that, but it's also like just flagging here that it's not just a game. There's a new Switch Lite that's out here that like is going to need to be like a pre-order thing,
Like
right?
you said, like 90 days.
Yes, yeah, 93 days from the release of this episode, both the Switch Lite and Echoes of Wisdom come out, neither of which can be pre-ordered as of the time of this recording this episode.
And the Switch Lite isn't a like store exclusive, right? You know how they did with
it's I mean they didn't announce it as such. So
Oh, okay.
like but we can't pre-order it anywhere, so who knows?
Have you figured out what your relationship is with the Switch Lite?
With this specific Switch Lite?
Yeah, like
I don't
you know
know.
how it fits into your solemn vow,
Right, how it fits into my solemn vow.
to buy everything that Nintendo releases this year.
I mean I think I can probably talk my way out of it, but I think I'm gonna get it. Like, because you and I have talked about this.
Yeah.
That like sometimes a couple of years later, I'm like, oh man, I just wish I had like a nice like not messed with inbox, or not even inbox, but just like a lightly traveled console that I can use in perpetuity when I finally beat the crap out of my existing
I
system.
live with so many regrets that I didn't buy like a new 3DS or a new 2DS when I had the chance.
Right. So I mean, and this is probably the last shot at like a new Switch Lite, like a special one, or maybe not. Who knows? Maybe they'll keep that trend going for a long time. But yeah. So I think I want to get it. I just I'm like nervous about when the pre-orders are going to be made available. As a point of comparison, pre-orders for the Switch OLED launched on July 15th, 2021, and the system released on October 8th. That's 85 days, so we're about in the same like pocket right now.
And that would have been a few weeks after, maybe
The
even
Direct,
a month
yeah.
after like Nintendo's June Direct in 2021.
Right. And then Metroid Dread pre-orders, I have didn't go up until September 24th.
That is so crazy.
Which is so late, because the game came out on October 8th. And I got my pre-order for the special edition on October 5th, 3 days before it came out.
That is crazy.
It doesn't even seem real. But so I mean, this may be where I'm just like spooked over nothing here. But like those product pages were existed right away.
Well, I think the other, for me, one, and this got brought up in the Discord, is will these games be voucher games in the United States?
Great question.
My assumption is yes. I'm assuming all of the Nintendo first party releases will be voucher games. I plan to buy a few more vouchers when that happens, but I haven't pulled the trigger yet because I am actually waiting for that confirmation for those pages to go up that they will be part of the Nintendo Switch Online voucher program.
Yeah, I don't want to have to pay $60 for Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. That feels bad.
Well, and I don't want to buy, yeah, totally. And I don't want to buy vouchers,
right?
And have to go back and be like, what am I gonna,
right?
What scraps basically have I not bought already? You know, that like I'm gonna have to use vouchers on now. A physical release of Splatoon 3 with all the DLC has been announced for Japan, releasing July 18th, and Australia and New Zealand, releasing on July 25th. There haven't been any announcements about North America or Europe releases. Naturally, the package is called Splatoon 3 Plus Expansion Pass, and it comes with 3 months of Nintendo Switch Online for free. The game is a discount, at least in Japan. The base game plus the DLC, if you bought them separately, currently is 9,500 yen, but this new package will be 8,480 yen.
Okay, so it's a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, it's about
Okay.
1,000 yen cheaper. But it isn't clear if the DLC is on the cart or if it needs to be downloaded. My guess would be downloaded.
Still needs to be downloaded. Yeah,
but
that would be my guess too.
Purely a guess.
But I also like wonder what is the point of packaging these things physically to like in a physical package if not having the DLC, because like the second DLC in particular like could be a one player experience, right? Like it's that the roguelike tower thing. Like if you're sending this to places where people don't have internet or whatever, which what does that mean? I think about Australia and New Zealand, huh? They just got Outback Steakhouses and kangaroos.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And Nintendo refuses to put them in the Mario Kart tour track.
Sydney Speedway
Sounds. Oh, it's probably
No.
something like Sydney.
Opera Jam.
I was gonna say like Dash, something like that.
Yeah.
I think that it is for gift giving. I think it's like I am going to give this to somebody, and it has all the pieces together. Part of the reason I think that is because when I was looking for the price on the Nintendo of Japan website, what they offer in Japan is like a physical card. Basically, they call it like a gift box. It's a like a question block,
Okay.
but it's basically like a card that also includes the DLC.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
so I think it's for like physical gift giving.
Yeah, which that does make sense, and is something that I wish that we had for Mario Kart, because that would be a nice gift to give someone, is Mario Kart with all the booster course pass just included on it.
Totally. Was that part of? No, I was gonna say, was that part of like the when Nintendo started bundling Mario Kart just regularly with the
Yeah.
Nintendo Switches? It did not include.
It did not. No.
Yeah, that would be nice if
Right.
they did. I'm kind of surprised that they haven't yet.
I mean, it's because then they have a thing to sell you, or like an incentive to get you to
Yeah.
subscribe to NSO plus expansion pack. Let's talk about the box art of this thing.
Yeah, it is not particularly elegant.
Yeah, I would go so far as to say inelegant. That it's like the top half of the box is the. I mean, look this thing up if you're just listening to this. But it's like the top half looks like the box art, and then there's like a square in like the bottom third that just like has a little. It looks like a credit card that says like Splatoon expansion pass on it. It's not. It doesn't look good.
It gets the job done, I guess.
I suppose.
With the release of Luigi's Mansion 2 HD on Switch this week, I thought this interview in Famitsu with Monster Hunter Stories.
Yes.
Yeah, Monster Hunter Stories. I couldn't remember if if it was plural or not. But I
No,
think it's
the
just
name of the
Monster
series is
Hunter.
Monster Hunter.
Yeah, so Monster Hunter Stories.
Yeah.
Thank you for removing it from the show notes. Monster Hunter Stories producer Yoshihiro Akira was interesting. This translation is from Nintendo Everything. And the part I really want to highlight is the work to port it over, because the first game being a 3DS game,
Yes.
and then Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. You know, I've been giving Luigi's Mansion 2 HD
The business.
You know, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, some guff
Uh-huh.
about it not looking amazing.
Yeah.
And
I'd
not
go
being
so
that-
far as to say that you've been a wascally webbed about it.
So I thought this was a good reality check for
Yeah.
me. So this is what Kira says. Quote, "The process of porting an older game and getting it to work on current platforms takes a lot of time. Development began with programs carefully reading the source code. From the system standpoint, the biggest problem was the user interface. The 3DS version has 2 screens, including a touch screen, whereas the smartphone version was also made with touch controls. Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin, which was playable on the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Steam, had a base that could be used for this reconstruction." And so I imagine a similar process with, you know, whatever I think Luigi's Mansion 2 HD looks like.
Yes.
It wasn't just dragging it from one folder and recompiling it in the
Yes.
Switch folder.
I mean, I really like anyone that thinks that like assets that work on the 3DS can be like easily moved to an HD screen. Just need to like remember what things look like on the 3DS. Because that thing is like the resolution on it is like notoriously bad, right? So you can get away with a lot more, with a lot like crappier models and stuff. So yeah, the fact that Luigi's Mansion 2 HD looks like anything is a testament to the fact that they had to like probably make it all from the ground up. To say nothing of like the difference in input and output
Right.
of the second screen and the touch screen.
Yeah, and figuring out how are you going to do the controls
Yep.
and how are you going to mess with, how are you going to change the UI to account for everything that used to be on the touchscreen.
The Switch has 0 cameras on it. The 3DS has 3. How are you going to account for that?
Yeah.
There's no microphone to blow into.
So yeah, do we? I guess we don't officially know who's making Luigi's Mansion 2 HD,
No, we don't.
but will be interesting to figure that out when
Yep.
it comes out. I'll just highlight this part of the interview as well. Speaking of Monster Hunter Stories 1 being ported, the question was like, why port this game at all? And the answer was the support we received all over the world from players enjoying Monster Hunter Stories 2 Wings of Ruin, released in 2021, was a big part of it. And with the 3DS online store ending service, it became harder to play the series fully in order, so we decided to port it to the current generation. Makes sense?
Sure. I mean, it's a very like if A then B, right?
Yep.
People are enjoying 2. It's like I do think that it is important that, or maybe just notable that as we move away from the digital stores for the Wii U and 3DS, that there is just this whole generation of dual screen games that will require like serious work to keep them around. And if the work isn't done, they will remain orphans on a system that like just gets hundreds of years older every week,
Yeah.
right? So I like that Capcom here was like, that's when we got to save, like save it now, and did it.
And I think, that's probably, you could say the same thing for why Luigi's Mansion 2 HD got ported over.
Sure.
So many people enjoyed Luigi's Mansion 3. You have this one on the 3DS, which was a successful system, but obviously not to the degree that the Switch was. There wasn't a Wii U version, so this one makes a lot of sense,
right,
to port over.
I mean, I wonder if, in a couple months when we know what the Switch 2 is and we find out it's not backwards compatible at all or whatever, that we will feel the same. Like right now, I'm kind of like, yes, if you port something over to Switch, then it'll be good in perpetuity, at least for the next generation, maybe 2 generations. Like who knows,
Yep,
right?
Yeah.
But that like the same sort of continuity is not guaranteed for games that are on 3DS.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Darkest Dungeon is currently the free game trial for Nintendo Switch Online subscribers. It started on the 20th and runs through the 26th, so just until tomorrow. But as with all the free game trials, you can download the full game, and it's playable for free for subscribers, and usually it's on sale if you want to buy the whole thing. But of course, Darkest Dungeon 2 was shown off in the Nintendo Direct last week.
Right. So if that was of interest to you, you can at least spend a day and a half playing the first one for free.
I really don't take advantage of these free game trials.
I do not either. There's something I don't like being pushed around by a game, being like, play me for free, but just right now. You took too long. Now I'm not free anymore.
Hey, the 41st Tetris 99 Maximus Cup has been announced.
Yes.
Runs Friday, June 28th from midnight to Monday, July 1st at 11:59 p.m. And it's F-Zero 99 themed.
I love that we're doing Tetris 99 Maximus Cups themed off of another 99 game.
Yeah, why not celebrate F-Zero 99?
Why not celebrate F-Zero 99? Why not all the 99s? Why not some big 99 jam? And I guess it's just those 2 and Pac-Man.
R.I.P.
Because Mario was 35.
Yeah.
Also R.I.P.
Yes.
Weird that they just put these games out to take them down.
Didn't Namco end up selling Pac-Man 99 as
I
like a
don't
separate standalone thing? Or am I
remember.
totally making that up?
They sold a lot of like different themes for
I
Pac-Man
remember that.
99 that
Yeah.
like you had to buy. Which was never the case really for Tetris 99.
No.
Anyway, I'm gonna play the heck out of this and get this theme.
Yeah. Ooh, I bet the music's gonna be so good
Oh yeah, it
and
is.
so stressful.
Yeah, I love it.
And finally, Nintendo announced the next Splatoon 3 Splatfest. This time, sidebar real quick.
Yeah.
We're coming up on like the 2-year.
Sure, yeah, in August, right?
In August. Which Nintendo said when Splatoon 3 was released that they would support it for 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
And we are coming up on that at the end of the summer.
I would bet that they support it until the release of the next hardware.
Do you think that they will announce like, hey, we're doing like a bonus year? Or do you think because my
good
memory
question.
anyways with Splatoon 2 is that they continued to run Splatfest, but they weren't new Splatfest.
Right.
They just like reran old ones.
Right.
And I wonder if that's like what we'll get
a
here.
strategy here.
And is Splatoon 2 just I mean, obviously you can still play it, but they don't do any
I don't think
Splatfest
they do
or
anything
at
for
all.
it, right.
Yeah. Kind of crazy that it'll be 2 years of Splatoon 3 in August. But so let's enjoy the moment while we can. There is a new Splatfest with an appropriately summary question. Which would you reserve for a day?
Yes. And so it's like for a vacation-y kind of experience, right? We
Yeah,
have to assume.
Yeah, if you could like have it to yourself for a day, would you have a palace, a theme park, or a beach?
Okay, so do you have an easy answer to this?
I mean, I'm a theme park
You're a theme park guy,
I would say
right.
theme park, yeah.
Now, do you get to pick the theme park, or is it just you say theme park and they're like, surprise, here's what it is?
Right, here's like Six Flags over Bismarck.
Right. Which might be nice.
It might be. I'm not saying it's not nice. It's just
They've
maybe
got, like,
not
a
what I
cool
would
Lex
pick.
Luthor ride or something.
Yeah, just saying it's not necessarily what I would pick.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, to give you time.
Yeah, please.
First option first. You don't get to choose. You don't get to choose the palace. You don't get to choose the beach. You don't get to choose the theme park.
Right.
Does that change your thinking?
I think a little bit because a theme park, like I mean, first of all, the crowd at the theme park is like a little bit why you're going, right? Like,
sure, it's a collective experience.
It's a collective experience. You don't want I don't want to ride a roller coaster by myself. Right? That's not crazy.
Well, it is what would you reserve for a day, but it's not necessarily saying that
I'm not buying out the whole park.
Well, I was going to say that it's not necessarily saying that you would be there alone.
Right, but I'm saying even if I'm there with like my friends,
right,
like just me and like 6 other people on a roller coaster or on the
it's
teacups,
a little bit different.
It's weird.
Yeah, for sure. Employees just standing around waiting for you to like walk by or not walk by.
Right.
Because like, what if you don't want like
what if I don't
ice
want
cream cone?
Yeah, exactly.
And they're just standing around all day waiting for you.
They made all these churros. It's too stressful.
That'd give me anxiety.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
But I've never like spent a day in a palace, right?
Right.
I feel like palace may be the way to go. You still have to make your own fun though.
Right, that's the thing, right? It's just a big house when it comes down to
it. That's true. It is just a big house with a staff, probably. I'm assuming it has a staff.
Right, yeah.
Right. So like you get whatever food you want, made to order.
Yeah, is it the same problem as the theme park? Or for some reason, because it's a palace, are we like, it doesn't matter that these people are just standing around waiting for me to...
I don't think it matters. I think that's just a palace standard, right?
But theme park, like, it's not like these people are paid whether I buy ice cream, get ice cream for them or not.
Right. But they got to make the pretzels, the Mickey-shaped pretzels, no matter what, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And they're going to waste all those at the end of the day.
I take it back. Maybe I don't feel bad. I mean, Palace, they're
Palace
probably
is way fewer people. It's maybe, what, like 20 people to run the palace?
Oh, I don't think that's... But like Buckingham Palace, way more than 20 people.
Okay, but like max, what, like 70? How many people work at Buckingham Palace?
I would guess hundreds.
Hundreds?
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
You got security.
Uh-huh.
You got...
Oh, no, that's interesting. So could you go out on the town and security has to like keep you safe?
No, I think you are sequestered to the palace.
Right. You're not king for a day.
Right.
Right. You're just
reserving one for a day.
Right. Well, so here's the real question is, am I liable for the cost of reserving this thing?
Yes, but I think in this fiction, it's not a problem.
I can afford it.
Yeah.
Money is no object.
Money's no object.
I mean, I am tempted to say the beach, just because like beach in Los Angeles is very frequently like a crowded endeavor, and I like going to the beach. I don't always like being around the people at the beach, right? Someone's always playing music on like a speaker or something, and there's always like a dog that pees on your cooler, right? So like maybe the beach.
Yeah. And again, you can have your friends there, I'm assuming. It's
Right,
like a Richie Rich situation.
Right. Money is no object. Yeah. So I'm gonna land on the beach.
Yeah, I think I'm still going with
You're
theme
still
park.
going theme park.
Even if it's like Six Flags Great Toledo.
Right.
Like I think that's what I'm doing.
No shade to our friends and listeners in Toledo.
I'm not saying it wouldn't be nice. I'm just saying that's what I would choose.
You're just saying it wouldn't be nice.
I said I would choose it.
All right, let's get out of the news. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. Oh, God. Hold on. All right. Let's
Everybody calm down.
Here. I got too excited. That's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, you should join our Discord if you have not already. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8BitBetty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening.